It's classes. I know. Oh, join. They have sent the link yesterday. I just joined. It's 8. It's 7:56. They already won it on 2. Should be in some.
Good morning, class.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Yes.
It's already 8 a.m. And let me quickly check in this. I want to remind you again. Please ensure that you're always muted, except you want to respond to a question, except you want to ask a question. Always remember, after you have asked your question, you have talked, you have responded, always remember to go back to mute yourself. Please, I want to appeal once more. Please, nobody should just mute, or mute. When you do such, you disturb the flow of the class. You disturb everybody. And if after 1 or 2 warnings or a few seconds, the person will refuse to mute, I may have no choice, no option than to allow that person to excuse us in the class. We are 200 plus, and I'm still waiting for a full class.
Can I talk?
And then, let me remind you, your username should be your proper name. We use these things are used for many purposes. That's your full name, the name you are identified with, your official name. You know, these things are used for attendance and they are used for other purposes. Israel, can you please mute? I just need an appeal to you. Israel, can you please mute?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you please mute? Can you please mute? Okay. The last time we met, we were talking about interactions, associations among organisms and an ecosystem. No organism exists in isolation. Organisms must interact with fellow organisms and must interact with non-living organisms. So we look at type of interactions and then the outcome or the effect on the interacting members. And we said something. We said symbiosis is simply an association between two organisms. It could be of the same species or different species. So that is the present day definition of symbiosis. In the past, symbiosis used to be defined like when you defined mutualism. The things have changed. So symbiosis is simply association between two organisms, the same species or different species. However, if in a multiple choice question, if the question says, uh, uh, which of the following is an association in which the two organisms benefit and is proportional? And you have option A, amenzalism, option B, predation, option C, parasitism, option D, symbiosis. Please go ahead and pick symbiosis. In as much as mutualism is not there, just go back, just pick symbiosis. We should understand that the person asking that question is still speaking from the side of part definition of symbiosis. So we look at the different interactions, mutualism, photocooperation, commensalism, predation. and competition. I will look at the effect. Now, very quickly for today, let us go on to what we have for today. We are going to talk about habitats and biomes. The other time, we were talking about concepts and terms that are used in ecology. One of those terms or concepts is habitat. We define habitat as simply a place where an organism lives or can be found. And then, what is a biome? Don't forget too, one of the terms and concepts we explained, and we have been explaining over and over, is community. What is meant by community? All the living organisms occupying a particular habitat or ecosystem at a given time. They make up the community or that ecosystem or that habitat. So, and it follows that all the living organisms in a particular ecosystem will comprise of many populations of plants, animals, and microorganisms. So, simply put, all living organisms of a particular habitat, they constitute the community, or better still, biotic community. Now, what is a biome? A biome is an extension of community. If you can define community, then you can define biome. A biome is a large and complex community. For instance, now, if you are talking of tropical ecosystem, it's very large. It's very complex. You can refer to it as a community that's tropical, what do you call it now? Forest. Tropical forest can be categorized as a community. But then, look at it, it's a very big community and complex. So, it is better described as what? As a biome. And don't forget, living organisms or biomes, they are located in a particular habitat. So the two go hand in hand. In the habitat, you have the biome. The biome is located in the habitat. So more or less, we are talking of the same thing. And that is why this topic is taken to two times together. So I said it before, that the habitat refers to the place where the organism lives, or an organism lives, or can be found. Habitats are generally classified into two. There are two broad categories of habitat: aquatic habitat and terrestrial habitat. Sometimes arboreal habitat is added. Arboreal habitat is more or less an extension of terrestrial habitat. Now, each habitat has its own distinct life forms organized into smaller independent units. Again, a biome is a large community of living organisms, plants, animals, microorganisms. Just like habitat, they are classified as terrestrial biome or aquatic biome. Again, take note, when we talk of habitat and biome, there are two inseparable entities, because a biome is located in a particular habitat, and in any habitat there are biomes. So that is why we take it together. So let us see each of the habitat type very briefly. What we are doing in this segment of ecology is just to look at introductions introductions to this topic. As we go on in ecology, the study of ecology, if your life falls within it, you will learn more about habitat. But for now, let us see the basic things we need to know about each of the habitat types. So aquatic habitat is a water habitat. Water habitat is aquatic habitat. Aquatic habitats are categorized into three, usually on the basis of sorts. Marine habitats, estuarine habitats, and freshwater habitats. A major parameter that describes each type of aquatic type is the concentration of dissolved salts. Now, marine habitat is characterized by high salinity. Marine water, the dissolved salt in marine water is generally higher than 1%. So water that falls into that category is marine. It's no longer freshwater. So marine water are salt water. Monyolowa, Agbola, please mute. So, and the seas and the oceans, they make up the marine habitat. Now, in brief, marine habitats can be divided into the littoral zone and Arctic zone. In simple form, littoral zone refers to the shoreline, the edge, where the soil, the land meets with the water. That shoreline are not too distant from the water body is the littoral zone. Is the littoral zone. So, and then we have the benthic zone. The benthic zone is generally the deep water part of the marine habitat. So we have the edge, the littoral zone, we have the benthic zone. That's just a simple way to describe them. So the littoral zone extends from the continental shelf. Continental shelf is still referring to the place where the continent meets with the ocean, covered by shallow water. So the littoral zone extends over the continental shelf up to a depth of 200 meters. So littoral zone is the zone of shallow water where the ocean meets with the land. And then beyond the littoral zone, you have the main body. I mean, you have we have the main water body of the ocean, of the marine habitat. This can extend up to the depth of 10,000 meters, very deep. The littoral zone, being a region of shallow water, receives a good amount of sunlight. And what do you expect? You expect productivity to be higher in the littoral zone. But the same is not so in benthic zone. The benthic zone is so deep that light can only penetrate, very few distance. And then, as the water gets deeper, it receives less and less sunlight. And what you expect? You expect less productivity. So, the surface water of the littoral zone, they support phytoplankton and zooplankton. Collectively, They are referred to as planktons. What are planktons? Planktons are minute, small organisms floating in water. Those are planktons. Some planktons are animal-like, some planktons are plant-like. Animal-like planktons are zooplanktons. Plant-like, plant-like planktons are phytoplanktons. So the surface water supports a lot of plankton. And the phytoplanktons include the algae. Don't forget, in aquatic habitat, the algae is the major producer, like we said before. And then oxygen is the concentration of oxygen in the littoral zone is okay, it's abundant. But as you go deeper into the ocean, the soft oxygen, they get more and more reduced. So what is an estuary habitat? An estuary is that region, that water body, where the river meets with the ocean. Don't forget, there are many rivers that flow continuously. Where is the destination of these rivers? Where do these rivers end? These rivers end their journey, so to say. You know, they empty into the sea, they empty into the ocean. Now, the point where the river is meeting with the ocean, that region is referred to as estuary. In terms of salt content, what would you expect? The salt content will be between salty and fresh. The salt content in the estuary will be higher in the place close to the ocean. The salt content in the estuary will be lower where the river is just entering the ocean. So there are fluctuations. So in the estuary, salinity fluctuates. It also fluctuates with dry season and wet season. In the wet season, the salt content is reduced. In the dry season, the salt content will be higher. The water in the estuary, that water is referred to as blackish water. Now let me just say this. Don't see the estuary as a very small place. Don't look at it as when you stand, you look at the river. You know, usually a very large pool of water covering much expanse of land. And a good example of estuary, of an estuary, is the lagoon. Of course, many of us, we know what the lagoon is, Lagos Lagoon. Understand? So that is estuary. Estuary is made up of brackish water. The place where the river meets with the ocean. Estuary habitats may have marshes, they may have swamps, they may have lagoons. Animal life in the estuary water is very rich. We have organisms that can adapt. Some can adapt to some extent to salty habitats. Some can adapt more to less salty water. And a particular type of fish, the mud skipper, is much in lagoons and mangrove. The mud skipper is a unique fish. Usually, you know that fish are what? They are aquatic organisms. They live in water. And every organism requires oxygen to survive. So how do mammals on land, how do they get oxygen? How do they take in oxygen? Through the lungs. In the case of aquatic animals like the fish, they have the gills. The gills take up oxygen. I mean, they take up the soft oxygen in water by diffusion. So the mud skipper has its own gills, but these gills are adapted to taking up atmospheric oxygen. It can also take up the soft oxygen in water. So sometimes you see them walking on land. Sometimes they go back into the water. So that is so far what I'm going to say about terrestrial habitats for now. Later we'll talk more. Then, lastly, freshwater habitat. Freshwater habitat is characterized by low salinity, characterized by low dissolved salt, typically less than 1% dissolved salt. Freshwater generally is divided into two: standing water, running water, technically referred to as lentic water and lutic water. Lentic water habitats are standing water habitats, are stagnant water habitats, e.g., ponds, lakes. These are what? These are examples of lentic water habitats. And then we have the running water habitats. Examples: the rivers, the streams, the springs. Now, freshwater habitats. Some of them, in the dry season, they dry up. In the wet season, when rain comes, they reemerge. So that is that for freshwater habitats. So we have talked about marine habitat, estuary habitat, and freshwater habitat for aquatic habitat. Let us see terrestrial habitat. Terrestrial habitats are land habitats. Terrestrial habitats, land habitats, are characterized by presence of vegetation. Vegetations are plants, and the amount of vegetation is usually determined by the amount of rainfall that habitat receives. So what determines the amount and type of vegetation most times is the quantity of rainfall, and to some extent, the temperature. So two factors that determines vegetation and terrestrial habitat are what? Are rainfall and temperature. Take note. Abundant rainfall, abundant temperature throughout the year will result into forest. Forest will emerge when there is enough rainfall and the temperature is warm enough. What else will you imagine? Forests are characterized by presence of trees. The dominating vegetation or plants in the forest are the trees. But where rainfall is limited and there is low temperature, we may not have much vegetation. We may not have much vegetation, so we may be having something like savanna. And where there is intense water scarcity, extremely low rainfall, deserts may result. So let us look at some world and local terrestrial habitats or biomes. There are a number of them. Tropical rainforest, temperate rainforest, savanna, desert. In Nigeria, what are the local habitats or biomes that we have? Obviously, we know we have tropical rainforest. In this part of Nigeria that we have, in Lagos, we will be talking about tropical rainforest. Then we have savanna. Savanna again is divided into different types, depending upon the amount of water they receive. We have Guinea savanna, northern savanna, valley savanna. We also have desert and swamp.
Okay, Mashima.
Ibukun Esther, please mute. So, like we said earlier, tropical rainforest will emerge where there is enough rainfall and the temperature is much. Taufik Elijah.
What?
Please, I'll happy to you. When you on mute, you will stop the class. You will stop the flow of the class. I don't want to lock, the audio so that we can respond when you want to answer a question. So, in the tropical forest, rainfall usually exceeds 230 cm per year. Our temperature is warm, it's hot around the year, averaging between 25 degrees centigrade, between 25 degrees centigrade and 29 degrees centigrade. The soil may not be as rich in nutrients, but then relatively, the soil are shallow and then the nutrients is less. Okay, let's go now. So, what is plant life like in the rainforest? The forest is dominated by trees. The trees are tall, and the crowns join, forming a canopy, forming a continuous canopy. There are also shrubs, and there are climbers and epiphytes. So that is forest. The leaves are often narrow to support water dripping off at the apex. So many of these trees, they have large buttresses to help to anchor the plant. So generally, the dominating plants in the forest are the trees. Nevertheless, shrubs are present, and there are climbers, and then a lot of epiphytes. That is briefly the plant structure in the tropical rainforest. Now, because we said it, that the dominating plants are the trees. At the crown of these trees, they meet to form continuous canopy. So what would you expect? The forest floor, because of the canopy that has been formed by the crown of the trees, the forest floor usually receive less sunlight. That's about light penetration. Let us see savanna now. As we go more into ecology in future, we will talk more about the structure of tropical forest. We will talk about adaptation of plants. We will talk about adaptation of animals. And if time permits, if you still have more time, I may still come back to talk more about that. But for now, we will stop at that for tropical rainforest. So briefly, let us see savanna. The savanna habitat is characterized by a low amount of rainfall. You see that is very low, it is low, or it is seasonal. And the rainfall usually ranges between 50 cm and 130 cm per year. And then the temperature is always warm too, just like we have in the forest. The temperature between 24 degrees centigrade and 28 degrees centigrade. So now, what is the plant structure like in the savanna? In the savanna, not too many trees. Okay, let me ask this question. What is the dominating plant generally in the savanna? As somebody of me can tell us.
Grasses.
Okay, good. What are the dominating plants in the forest?
Trees.
Trees.
So now, good. You may go back to me. Good. Now, the fact that the dominating plants in the savanna are grasses does not preclude presence of trees and shrubs. In fact, in many instances, the shrubs outnumber the trees. And the trees that are present in the savanna are usually adapted to seasonal changes. They're always adapted to resist fire. This is because the savanna usually suffers fire outbreak, usually by humans. This could be natural. So the savanna is prone to fire incidents. And the plants too, the trees too, are adapted to this fire, such that you see a tree with a very thick bark. The thick bark is to ward off, is to resist the fire. So the trees that are found in the forest, in the savanna, they are adapted to the adverse conditions that happen in the savanna. Okay, like we said, the plant life is dominated by grasses. The plants have well-developed roots to enable them to regenerate, to resprout after the fire. And that is why, as fire ought to break now, you think that the plants are dead, that are gone, the grasses are gone. No. By the time being returns, what do you see? You see the grasses re-emerging, the sprouting. So the plants are dedicated, they are adapted rather. They are adapted to surviving this type of fluctuating and harsh conditions that you find in the savanna habitats. Then the animal life in savanna is very rich. It's very rich. In the savanna, you have more of big mammals in the savanna. Now let me ask this question again. Between tropical rainforest and the savanna, where do you think we find more large mammals?
In savanna.
In savanna.
Savannah.
Savannah.
Okay. Now, why savanna are not in the forest?
Because they are short
There are lots of grasses.
mammals can build
Because they are herbivorous.
Why is it
Space.
You know what? Let's take it one by one.
Let's take it
one by one. Okay, Bisola, let's add you talk now. Okay, let's hear from
the answer.
What's her name? Please speaking.
Salamas.
Okay, Salamas. Okay, good. Right.
There are more mammals in grassland in the savanna area because
No, wait. Let's get it right. We didn't say mammals. Large mammals.
There are large mammals in the savanna area because there are grasses that they can feed on. While in the tropical area, the trees are too tall for them to feed on.
Okay, any other response? Gladys Isioma, are you responding?
She said something similar to what you had to say, sir.
Any other response?
Sir.
So I have an answer.
Okay.
My name is Chinemem. My answer is that I think because of the amount of space in savanna, that's why large animals prefer to stay there. Because in rainforest, there are a lot of trees clouding the environment.
Okay, let's stop at that. Because of our time. Chinola, thank you. Next time you will respond. But for now, I want to continue. Now, because these farmers are large, they may not have that free movement in the forest where there are numerous trees. So naturally, you will expect to find more large mammals in the savanna. So primarily, you find more large mammals in the savannah than the tropical rainforest or than the forest, because they can freely move without getting entangled. Don't forget, we said that in the forest there are what? There are a large number of trees. That is one. There are climbers. You know, if these large mammals are not careful, they may get entangled. So that is why that's the primary reason. That's the primary reason. Nevertheless, the person who responded that are likely to feed upon, it is also an additional advantage for some of these mammals. So those who have responded in any way, the answers we have gotten, they are not amiss. They are not out of place. Thank you. So let us go on. So in Nigeria, we have southern Guinea savanna, northern Guinea savanna, Australian Guinea savanna. Now, there are typos in my notes. I hope you will understand that there are typos in my notes where the spelling of Guinea is not appropriate. This on your own, you correct those things. So we have southern Guinea savanna, we have northern Guinea savanna, and we have Australian Guinea savanna. Later on in future, we will talk more about each type of savanna, their characteristics, and the survival of plants and animals in those places. But for now, we want to move on. Then the desert. Now, so far, we've talked about aquatic habitats. We look at marine habitat, estuary, and freshwater habitat. And now we are talking about terrestrial habitat. We are talking about rainforest. We have talked about the savanna. Now let us see the desert. Desert is characterized by very low rainfall. Very low rainfall. And temperature fluctuates. In the day, you have extremely high temperature. In the night, you have extremely low temperature. And then the amount of water, which is the major factor that determines vegetation type. You know, the amount of rainfall is low. As a result, the vegetation is scanty, if there is at all. It is scanty, and the plants are you know, very sparsely populated. So in Nigeria, there's no desert. Very recently now, there is a desert is now encroaching into some other states in the north. Desert is now encroaching to some other regions of Sokoto and Borno states. That time, in the day, sunshine is immense. Temperature is high. In the night, it's very cold. So the few plants and animals that live in the desert, they have strong adaptations to cope with those fluctuating conditions. For instance, the plants, they will not have broad leaves. The leaves will be reduced to just spines. They may have thick, 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 thick stem, fibrous stem that has ability to store water. The animals may live in very deep burrows. In the day, when the temperature is so high, they go deep into the burrows where it will be cooler. So later on in the future, with time, we will talk more about the desert, the features of the desert, adaptations of plants, adaptations of animals in that place. But for now, we want to stop at that for desert. So far, we are talking about type of habitats, type of biomes. Terrestrial habitats, aquatic habitat. We have looked briefly into each type.
Sir,
Yes.
I have a question, sir. Sir, why is it that in every part of the world that it is northern area that is always the driest, that's always the most, that always has the higher deserts? Like, sir, you understand what I'm saying? Like, the northern area of any part of the world is the driest place in the world.
That's a geographical fluctuation factors. That's fine.
Yes, sir.
And don't forget the way planet Earth is, will I use the word designed? The way it is, you will see that, the equatorial region of the world, it's more exposed. They receive more sunlight than the polar regions. So it's just a geographical design that has made that to happen. So, any other question?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Abu Mary. Who is Abu Mary? Okay, I'll be talking. Can you please mute? Can you go back to news? Good. So let us go on now to something else. Judy.
Yes, sir.
Judy.
I want to ask that. Can you share the slides with us, sir?
I just told you, you have my recordings. Go back, and I've told you, if you are seeing this class, you just sit as if you are sitting by your TV. You are not writing. You are not ready for university education. If you are waiting, like some people, they are waiting. They are not writing. They are not doing their part. All they want to see is that basically the request for slides. Somebody last time was even requesting that he wants a record of the lecture. I said, go to the YouTube and access. He said he doesn't have the time, that I should be sending my own distance. Such a person is not ready for university education. At any time, see, you can access the lectures. At any time, see, everything is there. Except you are lazy, you want to be spoon-fed. Please, let's go on. Nevertheless, if I have material to share with you, I will post it. I will post that later. Now, let's go on. Now, can you please excuse me for 2 seconds? Hello, class. Am I back with you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Good.
Yes, sir. We can hear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Loud.
Can you go back from mute? Let us see briefly man and the environment. Now, when we say man, I hope you know, by now that when we say man, that's a difference in biology. That's a difference between male, female. When we say man is the general term used to describe human beings. So, man and environment. Now, just like other organisms, no organisms can live in isolation. Every organism must interact with its environment. In the same way, man has to interact with his environment. So in the past, okay, man depends heavily on his environment for survival, for food, for shelter, for oxygen. All these things have changed from the environment. So man must constantly interact with the environment because man is dependent on the environment for survival. Now, in the past, the early man was part and parcel of nature. Man lived as in the past. The early man, they live as part of the environment. They live as part of the forest. They eat up plants. They kill animals for food. Other animals also kill them. That is to say, the early man, as he was predating on some other animals too predated on man. So the existence of the early man, was not of negative impact to the environment. But because man is what? There's an Homo sapien. Homo sapien is characterized by extra intelligence. Man has used and is still using his intelligence to alter the course of nature. That is why in ecology, generally, you don't bring in man as a typical example. In the food chain, you have shrub or plants, antelope, lion, man. Naturally, by nature, it should be plants, antelope, man, then lion. But man has used his extra intelligence to change his position in the food chain to capture, to tame the lion. So, and man has used that intelligence to develop science and technology. And the effect on the environment, is much. That's negative effects. Such that, as we speak, the activities of man is constituting a threat to the environment. So, in the past, man was dependent. The activities of man was not detrimental, was not harmful to the environment. But with increase in population size, man has to go into agriculture to produce more food. For the extra amount, it has to support. And these activities has brought harmful impacts to the environment. This harmful impact on the environment is regarded as environmental pollution. When we say pollution, what is meant by pollution? Pollution is the presence of any substance in the environment that is causing harm to living organisms or is disrupting the ecological balance. When there's something in the environment and that substance is becoming harmful to plants and environment, such a situation is referred to as pollution. Now, that substance that is causing harm, that substance that is disrupting the balance of the environment or nature or ecosystem, that substance is referred to as a pollutant. When we say environmental pollution, there are a number of them. Pollution types are many. We have air pollution, we have noise pollution, we have water pollution, we have soil pollution, thermal pollution, light pollution, odor pollution, and many more, and many more. So there are many types of pollution depending upon the aspects that you are looking at. Later on in future, you will learn more about this type of pollution and what the pollutants are and how they can be, and how each pollution type can be mitigated or remediated. Therefore, now we are stopping at that, just to look at the broad way of controlling and managing pollution. Now, the best thing is not to have pollution. That's the best thing. That's fine. The best thing is not to have pollution. But when the problem is there, we have to look for a way to control it, a way to manage it. So the general steps to control pollution or to manage pollution is summarized into 4 R's. Reduce the pollutants. If you cannot reduce, okay, you can reuse. If you can reuse, you can recycle it. That is, recycle is another form of reuse. And then, if the pollutants are there, you try to recover them so as to prevent the pollutants from causing more damage. So those are the steps to managing pollution. R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, recover. Now, when we say reduce, what we are saying is that you reduce the materials, except when necessary. Then, what are we saying by recycle? You can recycle some materials, especially those materials that have high value, like plastic products, metallic products, paper. You should not buy your food pack, your plastic food pack, and just throw away. No. You have to manage plastic pollution. And the simplest way to do it at individual level is to reduce. Number one, you reduce the quantity, and then you try to reduce. Then after that, after they have reduced and reduced, they can be recycled. And then taken back to the industry to produce more products. That's recycled. And then when there is pollution, there should be a form of treatment. If pollutants are generated, you must treat the pollutants and you don't just discard them to the environment. For instance, now, in the industry, be it manufacturing or any industry, they generate wastewater. So, by law, you don't just discard the wastewater. You have to subject the water to treatment to ensure that the pollutants level are reduced before you dispose of the water. And if you must dispose, you have to dispose safely, not anyhow. How can you dispose safely? You may have to compost. You may have to take to landfill. You may have to burn it off. That is to say, to incinerate. So that is briefly speaking the way to go in pollution management and control. So far we have looked at the effect of man and the environment. We said that the early man constituted no harm to the environment. But these days, with the advent of science and technology, the activities of man is impacting negatively on the environment. And this has resulted into pollution. Pollution are many types of pollution: water pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, etc. And then we talk about the ways to mitigate or control pollution. You reduce your material that is polluting, you reuse, you recycle, you recover 4 hours. And then we have also looked at pollution management in brief. So that is where we are done the cutting for this segment of the course. Let me entertain your questions now before we go. Oh, you let Bisola, you kept raising your hand. Is your hand not paining you? Put down your hands now. Okay. You raised up your hands this morning.
I have a question.
Oyeleye has been raising up his hand for the past 3 hours. Let's talk.
Okay, so my question is on what you said earlier about deserts encroaching the northern part of Nigeria. So okay. Will the plants that will they adapt to the changing environment, or they die out and a new species or something will develop?
It's just natural that any plants, any organism that will survive in a particular habitat must have the ability to cope with the peculiarity of that habitat. So plants that can survive in such habitats must have the ability, the property that can cope. Probably what you're asking us is that if desert is encroaching, what about the existing plants?
Yes.
Of course, those of them that cannot cope we do what? We die off. But the plants that can adapt to the sudden changes will still remain.
Okay.
And
Will it
what
be
do we
possible?
and what do we and what we and what do we and what do we call that in biology? Don't forget, you call it survival of the fittest. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it possible to like see new species, like species that thrive in that kind of
Yes,
environment?
yes. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm.
Thank
Let's
you,
say
sir.
other people. Somebody was going to talk. Questions? David.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Sir, I want to ask about this desert of the thing. Is you like it is like a kind of biome that is dominated with sunshine or something. But I've heard
Sorry,
of
sorry. Can you be more audible, please, so that I can pick it? I can pick your question.
okay, okay, sir. You like it, or is a kind of biome that has to do with sunshine and something. S-
No,
So
no. I mean, let's get it. Let's get it straight away.
okay.
Direct
eh,
habitat. Let's just say the thing again, because the way you are putting your question is not it's part of context it's part of context with what you said. The amount of and type of vegetation you find in a particular habitat, in a particular terrestrial habitat, is dependent on two factors. Of these two factors, the most prominent factor is the amount of rainfall in that place and then temperature. Now, a region, a place that receives adequate amount of rainfall throughout the year, with time, the vegetation that will emerge will be a forest. It is the amount of rainfall, it's the amount of water availability that determines the type of vegetation. Now, in places where rainfall is limited, or is cyclical, you know, the vegetation type will be reduced. You know, you have savanna, you have less trees and more of grasses. And where the amount of rainfall is so low, you will see that there will be no enough water and moisture for much plant to survive. So the vegetation in such a place will be very few, will be low. And in some cases, you may not even have one, depending upon the intensity of low water. So let me now ask your question. Put your question properly now.
Okay, sir. I just want to ask about, I heard of something like cold desert. So I just want to ask about it, like, does
Well,
it has
okay,
anything?
when you have cold desert, understand, don't forget the principal factor, understand, is what? Water availability. Yes, you may have cold temperature throughout the year, but there's no water availability to support vegetation. And don't forget, we said the desert is always subjected to extreme temperature, extreme low temperature, extreme high temperature. Even if the temperature is low throughout the year, in as much as that major determinant is not there, rainfall, water, you will not have much vegetation.
Okay, sir. I understand. Thank you.
Another question? Questions? Thank you very much. Now, study. Don't be, please work hard to get good results. I can assure you, at times, in this course, and generally, with minimal efforts, you get good results. Believe in yourself that you can do it, and you do it. So, put in your best, put in enough effort, and it will surprise you how much results you get. For your questions, the questions are simple. They are fine. If you are consistent in the class, you should read and you follow what you are taught. You will have no problem in making good results. So thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you,
So
sir.
Friday.
Bye-bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, sir.